This video will cover the topic greatest common factor of two numbers.
What does the term GCF mean?
The greatest common factor, GCF, of two non-zero integers is the largest positive integer that is a divisor of both the numbers. We will follow three steps to determine the GCF of two numbers. The first step would be to write down the multiplication facts of each number. For example, the facts of 4 are 1 multiplied by 4 and 2 multiplied by 2. The next step would be to create the factor list for both the numbers. Hence, the factor list of 4 would be 1, 4 and 2. Thus, at the end of this step, we would be having two factor lists. The first list for one number and the second list for the other number. The last step would be to compare the two lists and identify the common factors. Now, we have the list of common factors. We are not looking for any common factor, but we are interested in the greatest common factor. Thus, the greatest number from the list of common factors would be the GCF of the two numbers. Let's say we are required to find the GCF of 12 and 18. The first step would be to write down the multiplication facts of 12 and 18. The facts of 12 are 1 multiplied by 12, 2 multiplied by 6, and 3 multiplied by 4. Similarly, the facts of 18 are 1 multiplied by 18, 2 multiplied by 9, and 3 multiplied by 6. The next step would be to create the list of factors. The list of factors of 12 are 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, and 4. Similarly, the factor list of 18 would be 1, 18, 2, 9, 3, and 6. Now, we have two factor lists, one for 12 and one for 18. The last step would be to identify the common factors from both the lists. The common factors for 12 and 18 are 1, 2, 6, and 3. Remember that the GCF of 12 and 18 would be the greatest number from the list of common factors of 12 and 18. We can see that 6 is the largest number from the list of common factors. Thus, the GCF of 12 and 18 is 6.
What would happen if one of the two numbers is negative?
That's a good question. Let's take the same example, but instead of 12, let's say we're required to find the GCF of negative 12 and 18. The first step would be to determine the facts of negative 12 and 18. The facts of negative 12 are negative 12 multiplied by 1, 12 multiplied by negative 1, 3 multiplied by negative 4, 4 multiplied by negative 3, negative 2 multiplied by 6, and negative 6 multiplied by 2. Remember that since the resultant product is negative, only one of the two numbers of the product should be negative. We know that the facts of 18 are 18 multiplied by 1, 2 multiplied by 9, and 3 multiplied by 6. The next step would be to create the factor list. The list of factors of negative 12 are negative 12, negative 6, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Similarly, the list of factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. The last step would be to identify the list of common factors. The common factors of negative 12 and 18 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. The greatest number from this list is 6. Hence, 6 is the GCF of negative 12 and 18. From our first example, we saw that GCF of 12 and 18 is 6. The interesting thing is that the GCF of negative 12 and 18 is also 6. Thus, in some sense, the negative sign does not seem to have an impact on the GCF, and the GCF is always positive. Thus, in order to simplify, we can ignore the negative sign and follow the same procedure.
I think I understand. But just to be sure, while determining the GCF of two numbers, first step would be to write the multiplication facts of each number. Next, we list out the factors of each number. Finally, we compare the two lists and identify the common factors. The greatest number among the common factors would be the GCF of the two numbers.
That is correct.